3 days later, people are still divided on who was to blame for the Verstappen-Hamilton collision. The majority are convinced that the incident is Max's fault, but there's one theory going around that Lewis Hamilton exploited a grey area to make Max look bad. What's all that about? Let's find out, shall we? Sky F1 pit lane reporter Ted Kravitz suggested that Red Bull turns a blind eye to Max Verstappen's antics, and his evidence is that they often refer to incidents as racing incidents when the Dutchman is involved in a crash, as seen with his collision with Lewis Hamilton in Hungary. FIA stewards investigated the incident, which Hamilton also described as a racing incident, and ultimately decided not to take any further action. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner echoed this sentiment in his assessment. While talking to Ted Kravitz, he said, "I would say a racing incident, to be honest with you. I would be disappointed if anything were to come of that." Even so, Kravitz was convinced that the crash was Verstappen's fault. He claimed that Red Bull uses the term racing incident when they know Verstappen is to blame. On his Ted's Notebook program, he exposed their secrets, saying, "First of all, they're calling it a racing incident, which is what Red Bull do when it's Max Verstappen's fault. But everyone else is calling it Max Verstappen's fault with the last bit, outbraking himself, and would have gone straight on had Lewis not turned in. Lewis did turn in. Well, Lewis didn't turn in. He was there, and then Max went over his wheel." To round off the circle of blame, Verstappen directed the blame at Hamilton for their clash. "I went for a move that was fully on," he told Sky F1. "But then, in the middle of the braking zone, when I'm already committed, of course, to the move, he suddenly just keeps warping right. And if I wouldn't have turned while braking straight, I would have made contact with him. So at one point, yeah, naturally I lock up because he just keeps on turning to the right. People obviously made a lot about what happened in Austria, which is not correct, blah blah blah. But that's on the initial move and then you just brake straight. You hold your wheel quite straight. And I felt like now it was not on the initial movement afterwards, during the braking zone, he keeps turning right. You cannot do that when someone has committed to the inside. That's why I locked up, because otherwise we would have collided anyway because he would have just turned in on me. I don't think that was wrong. I went for a move that was fully on. I don't think I braked too late." And it seems like Max has finally found one supporter. He is still widely regarded as the main factor in his collision with Lewis Hamilton at the Hungarian Grand Prix, but his actions were influenced by Hamilton taking advantage of a grey area concerning movement in the braking zone. That's according to Sky F1 analyst Anthony Davidson, who weighed in on the incident. Verstappen attempted to pass Hamilton on the inside for P3 at the Hungaroring, but ended up locking his wheels and clipping Hamilton's front right wheel, causing Verstappen's car to momentarily go airborne. Hamilton secured the final podium spot while Verstappen ended up in P5. The stewards reviewed the incident after the race. Hamilton considered it a racing incident while Verstappen blamed Hamilton. Ultimately, the stewards decided no further action was necessary. After the race, Verstappen mentioned the criticism he received following his collision with Lando Norris in Austria, which had resulted in a 10-second penalty for him. Davidson pointed out that Hamilton exploited the same grey area at the first corner of the Hungaroring, making things uncomfortable for Verstappen. While going through the race footage, Davidson said, "Now yes, I was on Max's case in Austria about the moving under the braking and then ultimately the cause of collision. Moving to the left-hand side after moving right into turn 3 and causing the collision. So two things. We've got to look at why the lockup in Hungary happened and who was at fault for the collision. So as you go down the straight, he's behind Lewis. They both overtake the Williams. Lewis ducks back towards the racing line, which you would expect, and then I think Lewis takes a slightly shallow approach to the corner. I do think there's a slightly early turn-in which catches Max out slightly. He's going for the gap here, thinking it's going to be straight, and Lewis goes in. At some point, you have to turn into the corner. That's this grey area that all these drivers play around with. Max was doing it in Austria. Lewis is doing it here. You're making it uncomfortable for the driver trying to overtake you. And we've got a much better shot of it, this overhead shot. This one tells, I think, a better story. So Lewis goes to turn in, but then when it locks up for Max, it's almost as if the car goes left. It doesn't. It's an optical illusion. It's when you get a double front lockup, you have no steering, lo and behold. So therefore, that's what ultimately caught Lewis out. It's that grey area, like I say, whether it's a jink to your opponent when they move out to overtake you, they move out, and then you counteract. That's quite different to a subtle turn-in. But it is in the braking zone. But so is the entry to the corner on the braking zone, of course. After the collision with Hamilton, Verstappen rejoined the track, but lost another position to Charles Leclerc. Frustrated, Verstappen vented over the radio, but Giampiero Lambiase refused to contact the Mercedes engineers, calling it childish. Some believe Lambiase's comment referred to Verstappen being childish, while others think it was about the pointless exercise. Among the former group, Peter Windsor criticised Red Bull for speaking to Verstappen that way. On his YouTube livestream, the veteran journalist said, "Childish? I mean, who are they talking to? I cannot believe that a Red Bull employee said that to Max Verstappen in the middle of the race. Red Bull should not have been speaking to Max Verstappen like that. They should have been apologising." Amid Red Bull's growing troubles, Helmut Marko has blamed the strategists for compromising Verstappen's race. The Red Bull taskmaster supported the Dutchman, admitting that their strategic mistake allowed Hamilton and Leclerc to finish ahead of the championship leader. The question now is, how does this affect Toto Wolff's pursuit of the defending champion? The fiery radio exchange between Verstappen and his race engineer Giampiero Lambiase has fueled further speculation about a potential move to Mercedes. But for once, team boss Toto Wolff has toned it down. After the race, Wolff emphasised that the team's primary focus is on improving their car. They have made steady progress, resulting in consecutive wins before the Hungarian GP, with Hamilton recently securing his 200th podium with the same car. Wolff also downplayed the Verstappen rumours by mentioning F2 prodigy Kimi Antonelli. Automotor and Sport quoted the Austrian as saying, "We have to concentrate on our car and our performance and make the driver's decision when everything has calmed down a bit. I can't look too far to the left to see what's happening at Red Bull. We have to concentrate on ourselves, and we have Kimi in Formula 2, and our two drivers in Formula 1. Kimi Antonelli, a top candidate to replace Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes for 2025, has openly questioned if he's ready for that leap. After a slower start to his F2 career than anticipated, Antonelli is starting to hit his stride. He delivered an impressive performance in the wet Silverstone sprint race, claiming his first win, and later used an alternate strategy to secure victory in the Hungary feature race. He had led the early stages of the Hungary sprint but struggled when his decision to start on soft tyres didn't pay off, as they quickly degraded. Despite this breakthrough performance, Antonelli has expressed doubts about whether he's ready to take on the Mercedes F1 Challenge next season. "I mean, I don't know if I will be ready, to be honest," Antonelli admitted. "I'm still learning a lot in F2. Definitely I still do quite a few mistakes. A few details that really matter, I'm still not doing that right." Antonelli admitted that the pressure was beginning to weigh on him with the ongoing Mercedes F1 promotion talk. His Silverstone sprint win helped alleviate some of that pressure as he finally claimed the top step on the F2 podium. "Definitely from Silverstone I feel way lighter," said the Italian. "Quite a bit less pressure on my shoulders. The pressure was building up, weekend by weekend, obviously with all the talking. Silverstone was a big relief for me, and this weekend I was driving like my mind was way more free than the previous weekend. I was driving way more natural, without really thinking about the outcome, just focusing on myself. And I think it really showed. Even this win, a feature race in the dry, is a big relief and a big result for all of us." Wolff's response to this: "Remind yourself when you were 17. It would have never allowed me to take clear decisions in such a high competitive field. So what I'd like to see from him is doing his best and learning from his mistakes." So, who do you blame for the Hungarian Grand Prix incident? Tell us in the comment section down below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thanks for watching.